Welcome to the 43rd SCCA Runoffs. Last year in Formula Mazda, things got exciting from the drop of the green. A problem for Rodney Jensen and Max Ericsson over in turn 8. Big contact there. David Donovan takes the lead, but Chris Schanzel was close behind, taking second on lap 8 from Robert Kaminsky. But then Kaminsky has problems of his own. Robin Nicholas takes the third spot. Donovan goes on to take the checkers, but a disqualification by the stewards awards the win to Chris Schanzel, his first Formula Mazda national title. Formula Mazda is one of SCCA's stepping stone classes into the professional ranks, and that's exactly what this man, Scott Reddick, would like to do. In only his second season of SCCA competition, he is looking for the Triple Crown. He won his division, he won the June sprints, now he's looking for a runoffs victory. Mike Anderson, this is only his first appearance at the SCCA Runoffs, but he has 4 years of professional Formula Mazda racing under his belt. He won every national he entered this year, including 2 at Heartland Park, Topeka. Sean Ferris Mataya, he has won on the national scene as well, and he could very well be a contender for the championship here today.
Not only do we look at the number of wins that a driver might have, but also the fact that since this is the first time the Runoffs has been held here at Heartland Park, track knowledge is going to be important. For Lee Walter, this is his division. He's run here many times. In fact, he finished second here this year, and I would not count him out. Now for Lee Goffrey, he's a 3-time runner-up in Formula Mazda, but he comes in with a very impressive record. 5 wins, 3 second-place finishes this year. He wants this championship. Now David Donovan stepped out of Spec Racer Ford and right into this Mazda series, and he did so quite quickly. 2 first-place finishes, 3 seconds this year. That lets me know he's used to running at the front.
Up next, welcome to Speed's exclusive coverage of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, the 43rd time that the competitors of the SCCA will get together to decide national champions. Up next, it'll be the national championship for Formula Mazda. Tube-frame, rotary-powered winged formula cars will do battle at Heartland Park, Topeka for the first time that the SCCA National Championships have run at Heartland Park in the 43-year history. Only the 5th different racetrack that the national championships have been on. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till, along with Dorsey Schrader, John Bisognano, and Jeb Trado. We talk about being here for the first time. Dorsey, this brings its own challenges. Take us around this racetrack.
Well, Heartland Park has been reconfigured. It's now 2.5 miles long, 14 corners, and the exit here used to come on the drag strip. It no longer does that. Down here to turn 1 and 2, that's completely been reconfigured. It's much more fast than it used to be. Watch for good passing zones. Down into 6 and here in 8.
Well, that's a good look at the racetrack. Now let's take a look at the race cars, Dorsey. I said winged formula cars and with Mazda power.
Yeah, these got Mazda rotary engine, a very powerful, very reliable engine, very lightweight car, and they're all identical. That always means that you're going to be running right on top of somebody else throughout the whole race.
Only thing that's different is the guy that is sitting in it and maybe the tires that are on it. So it is going to be up to the drivers and the crews to make sure that they've got the proper setup for the weather today. So we will wait and see who has the better car. For more, let's sit down to pit lane.
Hey, keep an eye on that car that started in 4th position, Jeremy Greiner. The fella had 2 great wins this year. Now he's had twice as much track time here in Kansas as the other competitors in this class. Why? Because he's also racing Formula V. As you well know, there is nothing more important than track time when it comes to getting that last 1/10 of a second out of a car. Tried to get 4th place here, he got it. Watch him move really up to a podium finish is his goal. Maybe not first, but he definitely wants to be on the podium. Let's go down to my pit partner, right down in here in the pit lane, Jim Trada.
Thanks, Biz. There's a guy in the race that may not be up for a medal, but he's certainly here to have a great time, and he's starting 13th today, and Ken Denault has been a college professor at Northern Iowa University for 33 years. He's proud to say that every year that Formula Mazda has been a national class, he's been here at the Runoffs in this very same race car.
That's pretty impressive. It talks about the longevity of these Formula Mazda machines. They've been around for a long time. Still very good cars, fun to drive, plenty of horsepower, and certainly plenty of competition here in the SCCA National Championship Runoffs.
It's a very reliable car. It's a very strong car. Of course, we've seen a lot of crashes in this series because they do run right on top of each other, being equal.
Well, that's just it. The closer and the more equal the cars are, the closer the competition is going to be, and that's certainly what we expect from this Formula Mazda field today. clear skies, cool weather here. Could probably take a lap or two to get temperature in the tires, I would think.
Well, they're going 2 pace laps, and these guys will be weaving, as you see them doing right now, quite hard and vigorously. It's probably 50 degrees outside. For the first day in a couple of days, it's not as badly windy as it has been around Topeka. There's not a lot of trees around here to block the wind.
There's a good look at Ken Denault. We just heard Jim Trado speak about him running 13th right there. As the field lines up and the pace car gets everyone organized, we'll take an opportunity to take a quick break, and then we will be back to the Formula Mazda SCCA National Championships right after this. The SCCA National Championships from Heartland Park, Topeka. It's a Formula Mazda up next, and it should be a great field. Look at the cars lined up behind the pace car. 25 cars attempting to take the green flag today. Jim Goffrey will start from the pole. He has finished second here 3 times. He would like nothing more than to take the victory. The first Formula Mazda victory for him. Scott Reddick starts outside. Reddick looking for the Triple Crown. He's won the June Sprints and his division. Looking on back, Mike Anderson, a lot of experience in these types of cars. We talked about that as well. Russell Lindemann, Juan Marchand, Eric Freeberg, Sean Mattia, and Melvin Kemper. Eric Freeberg will have an onboard camera. We'll get some good shots from him in a moment. David Donovan starts the second 10. Donovan finished first last year at the runoff, saw the checkered flags first, but a technical infraction took his victory away. So he wants to make amends here this year for sure. And the last 5 there, Gary Phillips, William Erickson, Mark Granberg, John Elder, and Jim Dixon. That is the 25 Formula Mazda cars that will be going for the gold here from Heartland Park, Topeka. Take a look at the onboard. We said Eric Freeberg will bring us great shots. He rolls off in 8th, and I'm imagining we're going to see plenty of action from onboard with Freeberg today, starting in that 8th position. For some of the last-minute stories, let's check in with John Bisognano.
Well, let me say, while you're watching this race, actually think of yourself in these cars. They aren't that expensive to run, and there are several companies where you can rent them. Formula Mazda has always been a sealed engine, and they try and keep the cost down. About $2,000 a race. Jim Trado, another story.
And Biz, really, if you think about it, it's up for grabs. The gold medal, someone else's to grab this year. Chris Trounsel is not here to defend his title, so Goffrey and the bunch band, they're a little bit extra hungry because they know the returning champ is not back to defend his title.
Jim, that's a great point. No one in the field today has won a national championship in the Sports Car Club of America, so one of these 25 drivers will take home the gold for the first time. As you said, Trounsel not back to repeat or try to repeat his national championship. Another good look at Eric Freeberg, really trying to get some temperature in those tires, Dorsey.
Not only that, the second pace lap affords the opportunity to have a look at the racetrack. We just finished a showroom stock race right before this, and those cars were off the road a lot. Now, they brought a lot of dirt and debris up. That's one of these things that the drivers need to look at on the second installation lap right now.
Well, and that's an excellent point. I'm sure some of the corner workers went out and swept some of the rocks and debris out of the apexes, but what about the passing lines? You can't get out with a broom and sweep the entire racetrack, and you know that these guys, with a little bit of downforce and some good grip in the tires, are going to be running side by side in some of these places, and there's going to be a lot of dirt, debris on the outside. You know, showroom stock guys not always nice to each other. They tend to leave bits and pieces around the racetrack.
Well, these guys are not nice to each other a lot of times either. We'll see very shortly.
Through the last couple of corners, 11, 12, 13, and 14, onto the front straightaway they will come. The field lining up. Goffrey on the pole, Scott Reddick outside, looking for the Triple Crown. Seems to be a nice, neat alignment. The green flag waves, and we are racing Formula Mazdas at the SCCA National Championship, up through the gears, down towards turn 1.
That's the kink they just went through. That's new to the Heartland Park track this time. Here's the real turn 1 they're going down into.
On board with Freeberg. What great shot there of what Formula Mazda racing is all about. Oh, a problem. I saw one car go by. It looks like Goffrey maintains the lead. Freeberg, a little contact, a bent front wing.
Yeah, he bent the wing up. There's the car that went off, number 95. He didn't make contact with the wall.
Bob Hogan in the 95 getting back on course, but you can see that right front wing just a little bit askew there.
Yeah, take a look right there. You can see it's bent up. The outside end plate is higher than the other side.
And of course, the problem with that wing hit a tire, and not only is the wing damaged, you got to worry about cutting down tires with those sharp end plates. Meanwhile, Jim Goffrey Jr. continues to lead, but problems further back.
Yeah, spin and avoidance. The yellow car had to go around the outside of the grass. Says not to make contact with the spinning car. The red one, we don't have a number on it.
Well, I said the showroom stock guys left stuff on the racetrack, and you very well pointed out that these guys do too. The 39, Rodney Jessen,
top of the picture there, top of the screen. The red car is spinning. Now the guy in the yellow, he makes a great avoidance right there.
That's Jessen, a great move to go around. I'm not sure he could have gone to the inside.
No, he couldn't.
A lot of traffic down on the inside. I know he didn't want to, but a lot better than running into the car that's there. Meanwhile, Goffrey continues to hold on to the lead in his number 72, the yellow and orange Formula Mazda that goes through the front of the picture. Then Scott Reddick and Mike Anderson. That is the top three. Anderson in the Dayglow orange and yellow car there at the back of the top three. Then Grenier and Jessen. That is your top five here from Heartland Park, Topeka in the Formula Mazda National Championship.
Goffrey has a lot of experience in a spec car class. Of course, he came out of Spec Racer Ford, and you learn to get the most out of your car when it's equal to everyone else's. You really got to get that last little ounce.
The top five goes by, but then back to sixth. The number 4 of Kemper, then Mattia, Marchand, and Yanda all having a great battle. 4 or 5 cars lined up nose to tail. 4 or 5 cars in the battle for sixth on the racetrack, getting through turn 1 and 2 nicely.
And look at the dirt, though. And there's one car up there is going to come back, throw stones in everyone's face. And look at him shake the car to get rid of the rest of the stuff on the tire.
That was the 25 of Sean Ferris Mattia. Ferris, one of his great uncles, actually invented the Ferris wheel. So there you go. At least he wasn't going round and round like the Ferris wheel. He gets it back on track. But you know, he brought debris back on with it.
Well, in open wheel cars, you know, Brian, you drove them too. When somebody does that, it throws the stones right into your helmet, and all that dirt gets up in your eyes. So you don't really like the guy very much for doing that.
It's a good way to kind of take their concentration. Not that you would have ever done that.
I did use that.
Things beginning to sort out and settle down. These national championship events here, 18 laps, so you've got time to make a move, and that's exactly what we see right there, looking to the inside, coming into the bus stop.
Great out-braking maneuver. That was the place I showed you on the map at the beginning. One of the 3 best places to pass on this track.
Even though there are several corners before that, those corners are flat out, so they really basically turn into a long straightaway. You see the number 4, the light blue car of Mel Kemper Jr. flash through. Kemper running 6th right now.
Yeah, there's only 3 corners on this racetrack where you have to brake to the magnitude that where you can get underneath somebody. Most of these are just slow down corners. Not really have to go down a lot of gears.
Looking back, these guys behaving right now. Everybody really kind of just getting the measure of each other. You saw the black number 55, Doug Yanda, go by. He's an accident reconstructionist, so if anybody has a problem in the race, they can just come to him later and say, hey, Doug, what do you think happened? He just doesn't want to have to reconstruct his own right now. Doug running in 10th with a good top 5 run or top 10 run going on. Right behind him was the 65 of Donovan.
Well, the turn 1 is really dirty at the apex. That's not from these guys. It was from that showroom stock race we talked about before. But every time they go down to the apex of turn 1, they're kicking up more and more dirt, and it's moving it across the racetrack. A big slide.
Big slide by Yanda. The green and red car behind him is David Donovan. Remember, Donovan is the one who took the checker flags first last year, but he's having a hard time this season. Brand new racetrack for him. Oh, and good side-by-side action there. Donovan, the 27 car, looking to the inside.
Not quite enough run to get all the way past. So the problem with Heartland Park, you'll get the right turn, then a left turn behind that, and a right turn. So if you don't get the pass made, you're on the wrong side of the racetrack for the next corner.
It's actually the 37 of Lee Walter really putting the pressure on him there. Battles all around Heartland Park in the Formula Mazda National Championship. You would expect that from a class with a spec chassis. That's exactly what we're getting. We'll be right back to more action.
Here's a picture of Kyle Walther racing his way to a second-place finish in a car that he and his fellow classmates built at the University of Oklahoma. Now, Kyle, how have you applied your education with racing?
Well, I designed the suspension for the Formula SCCA car, and I try and take a lot of the concepts I learned in the classroom and through my own experiences and apply them to his car to make him faster.
Now, you're a mechanical engineering student, but when it comes to the race car, you're the team engineer. Oftentimes, there can be a difference of opinion between the engineer and the driver. Who in the Walther household wins out down the argument?
So far, my dad's let me win out all the arguments, and so far I've been right most of the time. So until I get one really wrong, I think I'll still reign supreme.
It certainly is a family effort here for the Walthers at the Runoffs.
All right, Dorsey, have you ever won an argument with a race engineer?
There is no winning an argument with a race engineer.
And has a race engineer ever told you that he was wrong?
They've never been wrong. They're the stubbornest people in the world.
Well, you heard Kyle say it right now. His dad having a good run. You see him putting the pressure on. He was right in the midst of it a little bit earlier. He slipped a little bit back to 14th right now. Perhaps the setup isn't quite right. Do you think he'll come in and tell Kyle that after?
You never know. He could. He looked like right there was a little twitch. Now again, we were working with a real cold day temperature-wise, but so track grip probably isn't what it would be.
Looking for the battle at second place, Mike Anderson in that day-glow orange and yellow Formula Mazda running third right now, really trying to take it to Scott Reddick, and Anderson looks particularly quick there at the end of that straightaway into turn 10, what they call the tunnel turn.
Well, I noticed when we did our piece on the Formula Mazdas earlier on that these guys have varying opinions on how much downforce to run. Some of these guys are running a lot of wing, some guys are not, and of course that's straightaway speed.
Let's check down to pit lane with Jim Trado.
And Mike Anderson's got his very anxious father watching him and keeping lap times. And Dwayne, you were just sharing with me that you've been involved in professional racing, as has Mike, but you said this is a whole lot worse. This is your first runoff. Why is it worse?
Well, I think it's worse because it's his first time here, and, you know, we want to do good. We've come from the pro ranks, and we're doing it for Hassa, and they said send him to the runoff, so it's a little nerve-wracking.
Now, in terms of preparation, you guys had an awesome year this year. How did your week turn out for you?
Well, the week went good and bad. The first session we broke a gear. Second session was wet. The third session we did real well. We were 100th off the pole, and then we put a set of tires on for the fourth, and it just kind of turned to junk. And so, I mean, he's doing a good job. He's hanging in there in third.
And Dwayne, believe it or not, has calmed down just a bit since the start of the race, so he tells me.
Yeah, so he tells you. Now, you heard him say he put a set of tires on, it went to junk. People at home may not understand how much a set of tires, even though they're new, can be off.
It happens, and you know, you talk to tire engineers and they don't want to admit that sometimes a set of tires doesn't match well. If for some unknown reason you bolt them on, and the car that was good before becomes an unmanageable car, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, if that happens to you, you just got to take that set back off and try again with another one. Anderson
seems to get a great run out of the bus stop down there, but can't do anything with it on this end of the racetrack. Very hard to make up ground, and certainly to pass down here through turns 10, through turn 14, onto the front straightaway. Reddick with a great shot off of 14 onto the front, and Anderson really just hanging in there.
The racetrack has changed so much. When everybody got here at the beginning of last week or early this week, it was in the 90s every single day. In fact, it was nearly 100 a week ago. Then it dropped down to where it was 30 this morning, and every time they go on the racetrack on a different day, the racetrack's a different racetrack. The configuration is the same, of course, but the grip level is completely different.
See, David Donovan has gotten past the black number 55 of Doug Yonda, so Donovan working his way up now into the top 10, bringing the number 7 along with him of Robert Kaminsky. Kaminsky now looking at the back of the 55 of Yonda, trying to improve as well, and Donovan's got to be shaking his head going, you know, I really enjoyed running at Mid-Ohio. I ran a lot better there, but it's taken a while to get the handle on Heartland Park, and look at Yonda looking back up the inside.
It's been really difficult for the people who've never raced Heartland Park to come here and try to get any good information because the weather's changed the whole time. It rained one day, that ruined your session that day. One day it's 90, one day it's 30, so nothing's working, and they're in the biggest race of the year.
Donovan, a little bit of a block down onto the inside. Yonda looking around the outside. Meanwhile, you ride on board with Eric Freeberg. Freeberg right now running in 7th, trying to move on up to the top 5. This is what it looks like from a Formula Mazda car at Heartland Park, Topeka. You want to do it. You heard John Bizignano say, hey, you can rent one. You want to race in the SCCA? You can. Stick with us. We'll be right back. The 43rd running of the Sports Car Club of America National Championship Runoffs from Heartland Park, Topeka. Formula Mazda action on tap for you right now. Jim Goffrey Jr. continues to lead. Then Scott Reddick and Mike Anderson. We've seen action all around the racetrack, but it appears, at least for now, that Jim Goffrey is having the day go the way that he wants it to. Uncontested right now, some 3 seconds in hand. Goffrey doing a great job. For more, let's check in with John Bizignano.
Well, the crew chief for Jim Goffrey is Bill Wood. And Bill, you just told me a little while ago that they're running about a full second slower than they did in qualifying. What's up with that?
The weather may not be good. There's a guy sideways right in the middle of the racetrack down there. Turn around.
That's why they have yellow flags. Go ahead.
the weather. It's got to be the weather conditions, or since Jimmy's 4 seconds ahead, he's probably just taking it easy.
Or are they laying back a little bit, just relaxing, saving those tires?
Well, I hope so.
Well, he hopes so, because we want one heck of a finish in this terrific class.
Well, it's right at 3 seconds right now that Goffrey has in hand.
Yeah, well, that's good and bad, because if this car we heard it spun, there is a full course yellow, and that's what I was about to say. We'll take a look at why we're under the yellow flag right now, and of course he's going to lose that whole 3.5 seconds. Now, here is a car, in fact, sitting sideways in the middle of the straightaway, unable to get going. Can't, is that the 20?
Looks like the number 20. That would be John Elder, sitting there in the middle of the front straightaway. Obviously, has had a problem. You want the car to run all the way.
Oh, and he's trying to restart it now. We'll take a look and see, possibly, we'll see what happened here to John. Yeah, he's in a tight battle. This is coming down into the kink part, new part. Oh, he's going to make contact. Big contact. They were really lucky not to get upside down with those two cars.
71 of Mark Greb that he made contact with there.
Well, they put that kink in there to try to slow up the entry speed into turn 1, but what it does is funnel the cars from 5 lanes down to 3, and that's exactly what just happened. Well, they're lucky they didn't have a huge wreck.
Absolutely, and you saw the fire out of the exhaust there. That's nothing to be alarmed about. Anytime you get a race engine hot like that and then you spin it, it dumps a lot of fuel into it and it pumps that raw fuel out the exhaust pipe. And so you'll see it ignite from time to time. Take a look again.
And you just don't want to run so close together in the straightaway that you can make contact like that. There's no need. They hit twice, actually.
I'm not sure Elder ever even knew that Mark Greb was there. He certainly should have. There are mirrors on these cars, but perhaps he just didn't see him.
That could have been a catastrophic type of a crash, though, because if they had locked wheels and launched the car at over 100 miles per hour, you know what comes next.
Obviously, John Elder having a problem getting his Mazda rotary power restarted here in the Formula Mazda National Championship. Jim Goffrey continues to lead, but we are under full course caution. We'll come back to some more Formula Mazda action right after this. The SCCA National Championships from Heartland Park. At the start, you saw the great onboard view there from Eric Freeberg. Action already down to turn 1, the 95 car going off. Formula Mazda action. Guys battling all around the racetrack. Jim Goffrey having it his way. A little problem up top. Great avoidance there. Things stay green until here. Problems between the 20 of John Elder and the 71 of Mark Greb. We went full course caution for a moment, but we back to full green. You see the fire out the exhaust pipe. Not a problem there. A little flame belching out of the back of Jim Goffrey Jr. as he continues to lead. First, the officials felt like the track might be blocked, but they rescinded the yellow because they were able to get that car out of the straightaway, and Jim Goffrey Jr. says, thank you very much.
That's highly unusual for him to do that. A good battle going on a little further back in the field here.
Saw Mel Kemper Jr. there in the number 4 car running 6th right now. A good battle. The car right behind him, the 45. That is Juan Marchand. They are having a battle right now for the 6th position, and it looks like Kemper has the better of Marchand, at least for right now, but things can ebb and flow around here, Dorsey, and look at this battle right here. Good battle through 1 and 2, up the inside. No, that will not work.
It's a battle all the way back to 14th, and that's what happens in the runoffs, is that from first place all the way back to how many ever cars there are, you never quit battling with people, and particularly when you're talking about a spec car series like this. Now this car, the 71, has got wing damage to the front of it. See, one wing missing off this corner there is missing. Right wing is damaged as well. It will now have less front grip and will tend to what we call understeer, or not steer when you turn the steering wheel.
The 71 is Mark Greb, and the car right behind him, the 14 of Mark Granberg, so they're having a good run as well. A little further back, but you know what? As long as you're racing with somebody, it's still good fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what my point was. No matter where you are in the field, there's somebody at the same speed as you to race with.
Absolutely. And that's the great thing about it. Let's go back to second place. These guys want to claim, they don't want the second step. They'd like to win if something were to happen with Goffrey. But Mike Anderson, once again in that day glow orange and yellow car, really trying to put the pressure on Scott Reddick. Reddick wants to win because he wants the Triple Crown. He won his division, he won at the June Sprints, and he would like to win here. Goffrey Jr. only has about 2.5 seconds in hand, and that is not much, especially when they begin to catch lap traffic, Dorsey.
Yeah, you see them dancing these cars around now. The guy's doing a great job. They're pushing the car right to the edge, and that's where you see these slides coming off these corners.
Goffrey just a few tenths quicker each lap than the 2 competitors behind him. but that will ebb and flow and move back and forth. Let's check in with Jim Trado.
And Al Hostetler's been taking times and being very communicative with his driver, Scott Reddick, in search of that Triple Crown. And Al, I got to ask you, what's the watch telling you on the pace?
That was his fastest lap right after the double yellow, so he's getting with it. He's going to get up there at the end.
Now what
for first?
Now what about what it says on the stopwatch, and what is he saying on the radio more importantly?
Haven't heard anything from him.
So he's getting updated one-way direction right now, guys, in search of the Triple Crown here at Formula Mazda.
Well, Scott Reddick has his hands full. He's got Mike Anderson behind him. He's got Jim Goffrey Jr. that he wants to chase down in front of him, so he's not going to be talking a lot. But Dorsey, his car looks to be a little loose from time to time.
Yeah, both of the cars actually are dancing quite a bit, and that's telling you the driver's pushing it right to the edge, like I was saying. But also, in seeing that, it means that their tires are starting to come up in temperature and in pressure, and they might be starting to get to the point where they're losing the grip.
On board right now, Eric Freeberg, once again giving you some great shots of what it looks like to drive a Formula Mazda car around Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas. Somebody goes off in front of him. I said action. Yeah, we've got plenty of it. Jim Goffrey continues to lead. Scott Reddick, Mike Anderson. That is your top three from the Heartland Park.
Weekend.
The 43rd running of the Sports Car Club of America National Championships in Formula Mazda right here. The battle for 16th down the front straightaway. A great battle as well. Look at him down into turn one.
And remember, turn one is dirty to the inside from all the cars going off. It looks like they've got it scraped pretty clean now. I didn't see any of the dust fly that time.
Russell Lindemann in the red. Formula Mazda improves one position, picks it up, and now he will have his sights set on the car right in front of him. He had gotten past the number 95 of Hogan, and now he'll have his sights set on Lockwood in front of him in the 06, the yellow Formula Mazda. Bob Hogan, one win on the season, one top three. That's what he's done so far this season. He'd like nothing better to have a top 10 finish here at the runoffs. And look at this as we continue to battle. The 28 really working his way forward, Russell Lindemann. But there's been action all around the racetrack. And as we were saying, it doesn't matter as long as you have somebody to race with. And sometimes when you're racing, things go wrong. David Donovan in the number 65. You see the 7 right behind him. Robert Kaminsky try to go inside. That won't work. Make contact. Kaminsky's right front into Donovan's left rear. And that's no good for either one of them. They have a problem.
Kaminsky locked the tire up, locked the brakes up, and of course you saw the tire. And they made contact, so both cars wounded.
Donovan back on track, but back to that battle for the 15th position. Lindemann has 15th now. Actually, he wants the 14th position, and I think he's gotten it. He's gotten past the yellow Formula Mazda, the 06 of Lockwood. He's gone past Sam Lockwood, so right now, the 28, the red Formula Mazda right in front of you, Russell Lindemann on the move. Timing and scoring will cycle through. You see the 65, David Donovan, right there in the green and red car. Remember, he took the checkered flags first last year, not having quite the same season this year, at least not the same runoff, struggling a bit, but still in 13th. Look at this battle right here.
Trying to get underneath him in turn one there. Oh, into spin. Got into turn two, way too hot. Okay, good recovery, though.
Problem spin. That's Bob Hogan in that silver and blue Formula Mazda. Let's take another look at that pass.
He sets him up coming down the straightaway. You can see him pop to the inside right here, squares off the corner. Everything looking good. They get on through that corner all right, but once he gets up here.
That was Lindemann over Lockwood and just drove right past him. Sam Lockwood didn't have anything for Lindemann and actually made it look easy there. Back up to the battle for second. Scott Reddick in the blue Formula Mazda. Mike Anderson in the orange and yellow right behind him. That gap has stayed the same between them, less than a second, a half a second at the line the last time by. It has stayed like this for 13 laps, Dorsey.
And they're using a lot of car. You see them sliding, Brian. They're dancing the car through that turn 1-2 area and right through here too. Four-wheel drift, nice slide through here.
And of course the problem is they're just a little bit slower, just a tick slower in this battle, about a half a second per lap than Jim Goffrey Jr. That has allowed Goffrey to slip out to about a 3.5 second lead right now, but nothing is over. You've got to take the checkered flag to win this thing. Goffrey could certainly meet his problems around this racetrack, and the win could go to either one of these guys. Nobody's giving up.
Oh no, by no means, because at some point Goffrey's going to come into the tail end of this pack and have to deal with traffic as well.
Mike Anderson, you heard, he's done a lot. Mazda, and that's hats off to the guys in front of him. Scott Reddick is not, neither is Jim Goffrey Jr., but they are certainly doing a good job. They're running with a guy who runs in the Pro Series right now, and they're running very well. You see Goffrey Jr. out of the screen there at the bottom of the screen, and the battle for second continues to rage.
Anderson got a good run that time. I thought he was thinking about making a pop down at bus stop, but he stays behind for now. That could be strategy too, though, Brian. He might be letting some of these laps run off.
And one of the things you got to do is keep your wits about you and stay focused. Don't get impatient, because Dorsey, as you pointed out, these cars all the same, so nobody really has an advantage. It's in the driver and the tires and the setup. So you're not just going to drive past somebody. You got to set it up and make it work and then get it done.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mike Anderson's about right now. I think he's setting up his car, and he's setting up his mind to make an attempt here and run some more cars off, or some laps rather. He's still got 5 laps to go. He could be repassed if he passes early.
Back on board with Eric Freeberg in his Enterprise Leasing Formula Mazda. Continuing to run well here right now in 11th. We'll be back to more Formula Mazda Series action from the SCCA Runoffs.
Mark Granberg has over 20 years of two-wheel type competition and maybe just as many broken bones. And after a serious conversation with his emergency room doctor and some good friends, he decided to go Formula Mazda racing. An awful lot of competition. Mark, I've got to ask you, what was the competition like and the transition like between the two classes?
The competition is okay at the lower ranks, but once you make that initial curve up the ladder, you get to the front guys, Moses Smith, Mike Anderson. Those guys are relatively really quick and plenty of years of a pro experience, so it's tough to, battle with them. But then, they all help you out and you just keep on going.
And going from a bike to a car?
The car, although it gives you a sense of security and it may be false, it does give you that sense, so it enables you maybe to try more.
Well, he's feeling secure after only 18 starts. He's going for the championship.
Granberg running in 18th right now, so he's having a nice first introduction to the SCCA Runoffs. Now, he can't hang his knee out of this car. He's used to running on.
I don't think you want to hang your knee out of this car. But he'll learn a lot. Anytime you run in a class like this, everything is equal, then you have to get 100% out of the car, and you got to get 100% out of you, 100% of the time out of every single lap. And it takes experience. It takes a lot of time under those conditions to be able to get to that level.
And you heard him say, when you run with guys like Mike Anderson, Moses Smith, who's not here at the runoffs, but another guy that runs out with them a lot, it is tough. It is very tough when you get to the pointy end of the stick. Good battles here. This is for 22nd. Saw the number 20 car working his way through. John Elder running right now in the 22nd spot. The car right behind him, the number 7, Robert Kaminsky.
Oh, and he's off the track. Gets wide. He might get in the guardrail. Just got stopped.
Oh, just in time. Elder had been running higher earlier today, but had problems. He's got problems again, and that could have been a big problem, Dorsey.
He just carried too much speed, Brian.
Yeah.
He got past the center of that corner, and you could see the front of the car just lose total grip. It wouldn't turn anymore, and it just launched him right on out into the grass.
Now, these Formula Mazdas seem to have a difficult time getting restarted. We saw problems earlier on the front straightaway. Take another look.
Watch, once it gets past the center of the corner, there's no stop. See, the car just loses total traction. Front end first and then the back end, and it just out in the grass you go, then it's all over.
It's actually the 45 of Juan Marchand who is behind him. Marchand running 7th right now.
Now, the other thing you have to worry about is the fire. You can catch the field on fire out here.
But yeah, it's really no problem for the car. We talked about that. Just a lot of raw fuel in there, and looks like Mike Anderson has gotten past Scott Reddick. Indeed, he has. Anderson takes over the 2nd spot. Now beginning to pull a bit of a gap.
We talked about that. We saw it happening. He was setting him up. He was trying to figure out when and where to do it. It looked to me like he was the faster car, and obviously he is.
So this Mazda's belching flame out of the exhaust pipe on the downshifts. Anderson right now up to 2nd place, about 4 seconds up to Jim Goffrey Jr. But as we said earlier, it's not over till it's over. 16 laps in the books, about another lap and a half around, but Anderson not going to call it quits until the checkered flag waves. He will keep the hammer down. We'll see if Scott Reddick has anything for us.
Well, if you're in that position, as we take a look at the pass, and you see under braking, That's a fast, high-speed corner that he pulled that on.
You know where that was out of the bus stop. Reddick must have made a mistake on the way in, and he's gotten by him, but now they're beginning to come up on lap traffic. You saw the number 71 of Mark Greb in front of him with that damaged front wing. Anderson clears it easily.
Yeah, he's got no speed. The 71 sees him coming and gets out of the way. He's gapping him.
Reddick's dropped back a lot. Do you think he missed a shift coming out of there, or is he broken a gear?
Well, could it be either one of those things? Something happened back in the bus stop that he allowed that much speed to get shoved off.
Because Anderson got through pretty cleanly, and the gap got pretty big relatively quickly. So I wonder if perhaps he just missed a gear, because he seems to be up to speed the way he should be. Final lap, 17 in the books, 18 will bring you the checkered flag, and Mike Anderson still hammered down. Only 3.5 seconds to Jim Goffrey right now. That is as low as it has been in about the last 8 laps. I'm sure Goffrey beginning to take it easy, Dorsey.
Absolutely.
But how easy can you take it?
Well, Mike Anderson's running as fast as he can go. If now, Goffrey, he knows the lead that he has. He knows the only way he'll lose this race is if he goes off the racetrack and makes a mistake. So he'll slow up. He'll just take a nice, easy last lap.
Goffrey not putting a wheel wrong all day long. You see his crew standing by looking nervously. Just a few more laps, and Jim Goffrey Jr. will have his first SCCA National Championship if he can keep that Formula Mazda rotary engine spinning just the way it is right now through turn 10 and 11. But Mike Anderson closing it down. With each corner, the gap gets narrower and narrower, but I can't believe that he'll have anything for Goffrey unless Goffrey has a problem. Goffrey out of the bus stop for the last time, but there is a lapped car in front of him.
Yeah, he's only got 3 corners to go. There in the back is Anderson. You see him coming.
And that is much less than 3.5 seconds that it was at the line the last time by. Goffrey still has to clear one other car. Anything can happen.
I think Goffrey's just taking it very, very easy, not taking any chances.
You better not take it too easy. He's really backing off there to get a run on this lap traffic. Anderson is going to keep the hammer down, keep his head down, but Goffrey onto the front straightaway for the last time, up through the gears, looking for the checkered flag, and the national championship in Formula Mazda belongs to Jim Goffrey Jr., his first SCCA national championship. And he did it in style, Dorsey.
Yeah, he did it dominantly. I mean, he ran a perfect race, got out there in the front, and then mirror drove, which is exactly what you should do.
Jim Goffrey Jr., Mike Anderson, Scott Reddick, that is your top 3. Reddick misses out on the triple, but a great day for Jim Goffrey Jr., John Bizignano.
I'll tell you, I'm with his crew chief, Bill Wood. Bill, you've been with this man for 10 years, and now you got another championship under your belt.
Well, this is other than a Pro Series championship, this is the first SCCA runoffs that we've won since I've been with him for the 10 years, and I'm sure Jimmy's just going to be thrilled.
When you look back on it, where in the season did it turn pace? Where did he get the confidence to know that he could be a champion?
Man, it's been that way for us forever. Like we won 5 races this year, so it's not something new. It's just our luck at the runoffs has always been bad.
Well, you can see that he's very happy in the car right now. Let's just go down to Jim Trado with another happy crew.
A very proud papa indeed. Dwayne Anderson, your son, brought home the silver. How are you feeling now? We want to check back in.
We feel good. We did a good job for Hassa, and Mike got a little hung up in the beginning of the race, and it took that long to get around him. And they were running so close. The lap times were about 4/10 apart on all 3 of them. So it was a good race. He did a good job.
I understand it might have been a fuel pickup problem with the car just ahead when he got into second spot. Any words on the radio?
No, we had no words on the radio. Mike doesn't talk much. If we say something to him, he just clicks the button, and that's all we hear.
Well, hopefully we'll talk to him in just a few minutes. Thanks, Dwayne.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Well, Jim Goffrey Jr. had finished second at the runoffs 3 times, Dorsey, and finally, the top step of the podium is his.
And they talked about luck at the runoffs, and it's all down to one race, and in one way, it's no bigger race than any other, but this one has some karma with it.
Jim Goffrey Jr. takes his first SCCA National Championship. We'll be back to talk to the winner and hear just how happy he is. Look out for champagne corks. We're coming back to Heartland Park. The 2006 SCCA Runoffs in Formula Mazda. There is your top 5. Jim Goffrey Jr. takes his first SCCA National Championship. Mike Anderson and Scott Reddick round out the top 3. Let's get straight down to the celebrations and John Bizignano.
Well, Jim's already celebrating. I've never seen anyone so excited on a cool-off lap. What a great flag-to-flag run, mate.
I can't believe this. It's been so long I've been trying to win this race, and I've come so close so many times. I just got to give a big thanks to Bill Wood. He's helped me for 12 years nonstop trying to get this done, and finally we got it done. Redline Oil, Goodyear, I can't say enough.
Yeah, I tell you what, you were celebrating so much. It's a good thing you're such a tall guy, because we thought you were going to come out of the car there.
Yeah, I almost did. I was going to see if I could drive around here with one leg out, one leg in, but can't work the pedals that way.
Hey, listen, congratulations on a great championship.
Thank you very much.
Let's go down to Jim Trado with the second place car now.
And Mike Anderson's giving congratulations to members who made it happen. Mike, congrats on the silver.
Yeah, man, it was. It's hard to do anything, you know, when we're all running the same lap times. You just got to wait for that opportunity. Scott missed a shift coming out of the chicane, and I got by him. You know, it was a great race, and Jim, congratulations, man. He deserves it. He drove a great race. He was running some quick times, and you know, but it's hard, man. It's a tough track, and you know, I got to thank my sponsor, Hassa, and White Flyer, man. Without them, I wouldn't be here. My wife, I love her, man. She couldn't be here, and I miss her. I can't wait to get home, you baby. And my parents, my mom and dad, man, they put everything behind me to do this, and between them and my sponsors, man, I wouldn't be here today. And
Mike, if you could, just tell us a bit about that pass. When you saw him take that burp, that bobble, you pounced, but were you close enough? Were you worried about him at all? Did you make contact?
The whole race I was close enough, you know, and this track is really hard to pass that, and it's one of those things where you got to wait for that opportunity, and when Scott missed that shift, I was there ready.
Mike Anderson comes home second today, guys.
That's what you got to do in a spec class. You got to be there.
And Brian, you called it. It was a missed shift. It was a missed upshift, and that's all it takes.
Well, he put the pressure on lap after lap after lap, takes his second spot, but the man who could do no wrong, Jim Goffrey Jr., from the pole, led flag to flag, never put a wheel wrong, and takes the checkered. And you talk about excited. Look at him right now on his victory lap. And you have no idea how hard it is to hold that flag at that speed.
That flag will break your arm. You know, you get going fast, and that's just a great feeling.
And it's such a tradition at the runoffs to take that checkered flag lap. The first time
he ran off the road right there. That's an example.
It's the first time he's put a wheel wrong all day long. Such a tradition. First time we've seen it in a Formula Mazda car here. The runoffs, the first time at Heartland Park, Topeka. We'll be back to more celebration when we come back. Welcome back to the 2006 SCCA Runoffs Formula Mazda competition. It has been concluded. Jim Goffrey Jr. takes the win. Mike Anderson second. But for more and rounding out the podium, let's get straight down to pit lane and John Bizignano.
Scott Reddick, you had action the entire race under pressure, but then he got by you.
Yeah, Mike was hounding me the whole race, and I just made a small shifting mistake and just got lost in the transmission. By the time I got back in the right gear, he was past me, and I was planning to be right on him, and then we had some carburation problems, and the car was just getting loaded up in the real tight corners, and I just couldn't hang with him. So I was lucky it was that close to the end of the race when we had that small problem.
So out of maybe 1,000 shifts, you missed one, and it cost you a second place podium spot.
Yeah, that was pretty much the one shift I missed all weekend.
With this kind of race, all weekend long, with this kind of racing, momentum is everything. You just can't get it back?
Yeah, I mean, it was a momentum race, and once I blew the shift, it was all over.
The only missed shift all weekend long, guys, it cost him a podium place.
Well, at the runoffs, it is the best against the best, and a mistake will cost you dearly, and that's exactly what we saw. Scott Reddick obviously disappointed. He wanted the Triple Crown. He misses out on that, but he can't be upset with the year that he has had. Sean Ferris, Mattia, and Melvin Kemper, great jobs for both of those drivers moving up from where they qualified to 5th and 6th. A good run for them. They need to be proud. Looking at the second page, our onboard camera, we had some great shots from Eric Freeberg. He started 8th, he finished 11th, he moved back a little bit, but not too bad. Sam Lockwood from 20th to 15th. And as you look on back, the biggest disappointment, Rodney Jessen from 5th to 24th. Jim Trado.
Jeremy Grenier came home in the 4th position. Happy with that. You started there, you finished there. But Jeremy, talk about your run itself and how much these cars are a handful of sorts. So shifting as more than you used to because you run a V car as well.
Yeah, these cars are tremendously fast. They're fun to handle, toss around. I'm used to driving a V, which you only shift from 3rd to 4th. That's it. This car has 5 gears. It's just a lot of fun. So.
Now, on the racetrack itself, you said you came home with a top 5 finish. The Formula V race is yet to come. You've qualified for that as well here at the runoffs. How is that going to help you racing in these 18 laps in competition for your run in the V race?
Well, it helped me learn some fast laps, some different lines. I'll also know a little bit more about where to pass, where not to pass. Just some little insignificant little tricks to the course. So it'll definitely help me.
Jeremy Grenier coming home 4th. Biz?
Sean Mattia, you qualified 9th and you ended up in 5th. It must have been some good racing going on someplace, but you said you were basically alone during the entire event.
Yeah, it's a scramble start, so everybody was battling for first turn there, and
everybody spread out real fast, and lap traffic came along and helped me out a little bit.
Well, I'm sure you learned a lot during it. Best of luck next time. Back to the booth, guys.
Well, he said a scrambled start. A lot of the race was a scramble. It is, after all, Formula Mazda.
It is. After that scrambled start, I like that word for sure. I missed a gear one time, and that cost me the win, so I know what he feels like.
Exactly. We saw action all around the racetrack. You get to see some of it right there as we end the show. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Dorsey Schrader, John Bisignato, Jim Trado, I'm Brian Till. Make sure you catch all of the SCCA Runoffs action right here on Speed from Heartland Park to Topeka. The celebrations all around. Jim Goffrey Jr., one very happy first-time SCCA National Champion. We'll see you.